B.
Hi, Kat.
Okay, Brendan, you are our parts guru.
Yes, I am.
You also have been working on espresso machines for a few years now.
I have.
Rebuilt a bunch in the refurb line and that kind of thing. And so today, what are you going to teach us?
I'm going to teach you how to clean out and calibrate your Vienna grinder for your Vienna Plus. It's, a lot of other grinders in super automatics, you only have like 5 options, maybe 10 at most. But this one has 18, so it's really important that your grinder is calibrated. And one of the other things that I think is so cool about the Vienna Plus is the grinder is really accessible.
Okay.
So we don't have to take off a panel. All we got to do is take off the hopper, and boom, there are your burrs.
Cool. All right. So you're going to show me how to do that to get into it. Okay.
Totally. So first thing, I would, obviously unplug your machine. It's nice to take off all the accessories because sometimes you need to tilt and turn your machine. So if you have like water in your water tank, you don't want that spilling. So I always take off all that stuff. And then, so the first thing you want to do is you have 2 screws holding your hopper down.
Okay.
And they actually are specific to the front and the back. The one in the back is longer because it just has a longer distance to travel. Okay. So if you do take them, it's really easy to leave the screws in the hopper. You don't even have to take them out, so you shouldn't, they kind of just sit in the grooves of the hopper themselves.
And so you just have a regular Phillips head.
Yep, this is a P1.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me see here. We got those out, and then that's all you really need to do in terms of taking your hopper out of the machine.
Nice.
So there you see, you have your grind setting, and then your dosage is the other one.
Okay.
Okay. So our grinder is completely exposed at this point, and there's one other thing we should take off, and that's just your bean hopper gasket.
That's that guy. Okay.
And actually, another important thing to mention is if you had any beans in your hopper, you want to try to vacuum them out. Because the moment you lift that up, it will go all around your grinder and get down in the,
Okay, because we don't actually have like a gate valve or anything like on this guy.
Exactly.
So if you pull it, it would just go crazy.
Yeah. I mean, one good thing to do if you do have a hopper full of beans, because it's kind of hard to get them out, is like turn it, try to get to one side with your vacuum, and you can vacuum them all out. But it's just nice. Otherwise, like I said, you'll get beans down in parts of the machine where they shouldn't be.
Now, B, if I do vacuum them out, is that going to affect their flavor when I use them later on?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, but some people like that flavor, beans with dust.
Little lint.
Tastes delicious.
Okay, all right. So now this is what we're adjusting down here.
Exactly. This is our grinder, and the one in the middle, that's your bottom burr, and then you have your outside burr.
Okay.
And this is right where we want to be in order to work on this.
Cool.
And just to make the view really easy, I took a grinder motor out with exactly how we're going to look at it, just so you guys can, there are markings on there to let you know where you are in terms of your calibration. Okay. So I got this out, and it's sitting in a nice boiler here. So right now, the grinder is calibrated at 0, the finest it can be. And the way I know that is I'm looking at this red dot on the outer ring. So right now it's at 0, and these two are meeting up. And every click here is one setting on your grinder dosage knob. So that's 1, that's 2. In the refurb line, when they're testing the machines, they say the perfect puck is right about at 10 or 11. And I always know that by looking at this plastic elbow, and it's 1 or 2 after that. But so you're starting here, you're at 0. You can just go ahead, there's a break on each side of this, so you can just crank it all the way to 12 o'clock. And I'm just looking at this red dot, it gets to 12. And then these 3 tabs that hold down that outer burr, they all become exposed, and your burr is released.
Oh, okay.
So you can see how this is fastened down. You have 3 tabs, and as this ring's going back down, it's just pushing this a little bit more and more and more down.
I see. Okay.
And when you open this up, you'll have grounds and everything around here. It's just really important to get down there and vacuum all that out. You have your grinder chute immediately to your left. That's where it's sending all the grounds after they've been grinded into the grinder chute to your left. So you can kind of vacuum that out. You might, if you ever run into problems with like grinding your grinder too fine and your grinder chute gets clogged, that's where you really want to focus your attention to get it unclogged
and to clean it out real well. Okay, so now that basically we've got it all apart, and then what is the calibration process like? What am I trying to achieve here?
pretty much the most important part is that, you know, whatever dial you're on here, actually with your grinder, it matches the dial on your bean hopper. And that's you know, sometimes people they'll get this at 5, but their bean hopper says 10, for example. You know, so you really want them to match up. And that's the most important part. And the easiest way to do that is just by leaving your grinder calibrated to 0 while you're putting your bean hopper back on.
And making sure this guy is all the way down at 0 as well.
Exactly. I think some people try to, you know, they really try to just put it where they think it's good and then guess what it is on the hopper. But the easiest way to do it is just put it at 0, put the hopper at 0, and you'll be good to go. Okay. So right now, I mean, in order to get your upper burr back on, the only way to do it is to have this red indicator line at 12 o'clock. Because you can see each groove here is exposed. But if you go one more over, this tab isn't going to be able to get in that spot now.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you really need this exposed, and right now, you know, it will accept the upper burr, but if it was like this, there's no way it's going to get in there. Okay. And the other thing is, too, is just make sure, I mean, the burr's heavy, you know, and will sit in those grooves well, but when you do first put it on, you know, put some weight down on the upper burr, because some people, they'll get like 2 tabs down and 1 knot, or, you know, 2 tabs out, 1 down. You really want to make sure all 3 tabs are down, and then you start turning. And then once you see that goes over all 3 tabs, then you know your upper burr is, you know, it's secured to the rest of the grinder now. Okay. And then, like I said, I like to just bring it all the way back down to 12 o'clock. You know, and you honestly could do like, because this really, you wouldn't be able to grind here. You know, your 2 burrs are so close that it would be way too fine. So this really isn't an adequate 0 in terms of your hopper here. You know, we're zeroed out in terms of just thinking about the space between the burrs, but, you know, if you really wanted to think of 0 off of your grinder and your, you know, your grinder knob, you probably want to be 1 or 2 away from that. That's probably a 0, because that's probably the finest grind, you know, for this machine. You know, you still got some space there, and this is technically a 0 in terms of your, you know, the setting on your hopper. So basically, you'd take it down to the finest, but you'd still be able to get some coffee through it. Exactly. Okay. Exactly. All right. If it was all the way at 0 here, your grinder wouldn't even take, you know, it would just be sitting there and it wouldn't be taking beans because there's not enough space there. Okay. All right. So once we have it here, obviously we're back, you know, it's down in the machine. Exactly. So we're at 0 right now. And, you know, it can be kind of hard to tell because you also have your dosage gear here. That's the other gear that's right here. Oh. So, you know, it can be kind of hard to see, you know, that red line, but just have comfort in the brake. So when you get to 0, it won't turn any more clockwise. It won't. You're there, so it's stopping. Okay. So you're all good there, and I would just go 1, 2 to get, you know, that's really a true 0 in terms of grinding coffee. And then just make sure, I like to have the dosage maxed out when I'm putting the bean hopper back on. So the dosage knob and the grinding knob will be at 2 different ends of the spectrum. Okay. We'll have, you know, the grinding knob at 0, and we'll have the dosage knob all the way at plus maxed out. Okay. So we're all set right now to put the hopper back on. Don't forget your hopper gasket, because if that's not there, beans will kind of do the same thing. They'll get all over the inside of your machine, around your boiler, and we don't want that. So also, that would contribute to a subpar coffee brew. That won't work at all, will it? I don't think anyone would like that. No. I'd rather have them out of the vacuum. So this is, here we are maxed out. You know, we're at plus all the way with dosage, and we're at 0 right here with the grind. Okay. And I like to just kind of start, you'll see this tab right here is meant to go right down in here. So if you kind of just take this, you place the front first. I'm looking at a bunch of things. I'm looking at the screw going to the screw hole in that tab, and I'm setting this down. And before I screw it down, I always you know, I'm at 0 here. I want to turn this to hear a click. Know that I'm engaged with that gear down there. And I'm feeling the click. You can hear it there. You know I'm engaged with the gear down there. But I'll still double check real quick, because it's really good to know that this is in sync with your grinder. I mean, that's the biggest thing. So I'm going to put this at 10 and see if it's at that spot that I really like it. So I'm at 10 right now. This is at full. I'm going to put this at half so I can see that the dosage thing moved. just to know that everything's in sync. And now I'm going to take it off again just to be sure. And as you can see here, this red indicator light is right where it should be in terms of that good shot. And in fact, the dosage has gone down half.
Okay.
So
everything is engaging.
Yeah, everything was engaging just as it should.
Okay.
And I'm going to put everything back just because putting the hopper back on, it's best to have things in that position. It just makes it easier for the gears to line up. I'm putting this back at 0. I'm putting this back at plus all the way. And this is completely zeroed out. So I'm just going to do 2 clicks. And now we're good. It's good to just be sure everything's working down there. I've done it before where the gears weren't lining up for whatever reason. I'm just going to do this again, make sure I feel, if it's not engaged, you'll know. It's moving freely, there's no resistance. You know, I can tell right now that the gears are engaged. I'm going to put this up to 10. I can hear those clicks. The clicks are very helpful. There's a ball bearing in there around that upper ring, and it makes it so you can feel each click. So we're good, and we're good to screw down the hopper, and your grinder is calibrated. That area right there is the best area for a shot on your Vienna Plus.
Okay.
Right at 10 is a great, you know, it's not too coarse, it's not too fine, and it makes a really nice unified puck every time.
So that's kind of where you'd say that's the place to start. And
exactly.
Then, okay. So I guess that this is really great for people who want to be able to clean out. You know, you can't run like grinds and that kind of stuff through these super autos. So this would be a very easy way to take that apart and clean it without having to take apart the whole machine.
Exactly. And if you ever change your upper burr, which you need to change more frequently because the way this grinder works is the upper burr doesn't move, but the lower burr does.
Okay.
So the upper burr, therefore, it gets a lot more grimy. You know, you probably need to change the upper burr, you know, once before you change both. You know, so you'll change both burrs, and then the next time you probably only need to change the upper one.
Okay.
And this, yeah, that's exactly what you need to do for that as well.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much, B.
My pleasure.